Blocking is the process of using water to shape your knitting. It gives knitting a professional finish, and it is one way of shaping your garment. As you can see from this knitting, this is what we want our finished piece to look like. And here, after knitting, it pleats, so it does not meet our desired shape or appearance. So this block of knitting would be best to immerse it in water and block it that way, and I will demonstrate how to do that. The first step of blocking is to immerse your knitting into the water. If you want to wash your garment, I recommend that you use a no rinse soap. So gently immerse it in the water. When your garment is all wet, you want to carefully lift it out of the water and support it. Because if you just pull it out of the water without supporting it, you could stretch your knitting. So now that I've washed it, and I will go ahead and take it out of the water. Never wring your knitting. We are going to roll it into a towel. So now I lay my damp, very wet piece of knitting onto a dry towel, and because I never want to wring out my knitting, I go ahead and roll it in a towel, squeezing it as I roll to get out all of the excess moisture. Now that I've taken my knitting and I have rolled out the excess moisture, now it's time to pin it into place. I like to use this lined interfacing. It has a 1-inch grid, so it's easy for me to make sure my knitting stays nice and straight, and it also allows me to easily count out the dimension that I want to, or the shape that I want for my garment. For this piece I would like to have a 12-inch square, so I have drawn in a 12-inch square, but of course it could be any dimension that you would like. Now I lay my knitting onto my shape, and I pin through my garment and this interfacing, and plus a fresh dry towel so that it will dry. The pins that I am using are rust-proof pins, because we want to make sure that our knitting stays nice and pretty. So what I'm going to do is follow these lines all the way around, carefully pinning this into shape. I like to work the corners first, and depending on how stubborn the knitting is, sometimes you can just lay it in, sometimes it needs a few pins, sometimes it needs many pins. And go ahead and pin all of the corners, and then add more pins as needed. Now I have all of my pins in place. My garment is ready to air dry, so you can just let it rest until it is dry, and then we'll remove the pins. So now my knitting is all dry. I remove all of the pins, and you can see that it lies nice and flat. It looks very professional. It does no longer appears in the same shape that we began with, and my knitting is to the correct size that I would like, and blocking is complete. Happy knitting!